Welcome to the More Money Friday podcast. Sorry for the delay. I am in Miami this weekend, so everything's a little slow. The Wi-Fi connection, the hotel isn't the best. Bear with me. Today we have a special guest. His name is Xavier Knight. What makes Xavier so special is a lot of people talk about doing house hacking. A lot of people say it can be done. It's easy to live rent free. But not everyone has actually done it. And that's what makes this episode so special. I wanted to bring someone who's not done it once, but twice. So he has successfully house hacked twice. So when I mean successfully, I mean to completion until you moved on to another project. So stop listening to people who talk about it. This is Friday, and instead of spending your money this Friday, let's show you how to invest it and show you how to build it up. Every Friday, we come with new entrepreneurs who are doing successful things that are going to create more money for themselves and their future generations. So, Xavier, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Friday.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for being patient. I know I was having issues. I was trying to send the link out. Xavier's like, yo, Malcolm, I'm not getting it. I'm like, Xavier, it's saying sent. I don't know what to do. But we worked everything out. So, ladies and gentlemen, sorry for the delay. We're back. And now we're ready to crush it. Let's talk about mortgages. Let's talk about house hacking. Before we get into that, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about Knight's Management. Just give us a little background.
Well, about me, obviously, I'm from Queens, New York. So you already know Queens in the building. I'm out here in Connecticut right now, and I own 3 properties here in Connecticut. I have a duplex, a 3-family, and a single family. What else you looking to find out?
What made you get into real estate?
Okay, so what made me get into real estate? I had a tough period in college. I went to college for about a year. Had an issue when it came down to financial reasons. At the time, I was working at Target, like part-time overnight and stuff like that. So my mom, she ended up moving us out here to Connecticut right after high school. She had a property out here, had 6-bedroom house. So what I ended up doing while I was in college was I ended up renting out those bedrooms for $550 a month for each one of the bedrooms. I knew absolutely nothing about real estate whatsoever. I hardly knew what I was doing. And I remember when I was screening tenants, a lot of tenants was like, how old are you? Mind you, at the time, I'm only 18 years old. So I had no clue what the heck I was doing. But the money was pretty good. I'm not going to lie.
You $550 each. And you said,
yeah,
you lived in one, so you're at least getting, what's that, $2,500, $3,000 a month?
Yeah, give or take. It was about $2,500 because I stayed in one. So it was pretty good, especially for 18 years old. The mortgage on the place was $1,500.
So your mom didn't even have to worry. You was covering the whole mortgage.
Yeah, it was covering the mortgage.
And still walking away with a piece of change while working at Target.
Little bit of money, can't complain. So so I ended up running into financial issues with college. So I ended up leaving college, and I became a manager over at Target.
Okay.
And at that point, I was super excited because it was my first job where I actually worked 40 hours a week. So I'm like, holy crap, I got a $700 check. I'm excited after 2 weeks. So what I was doing was I was just kind of putting a little bit of money aside while still kind of taking care of the house. At this point in time, the tenants, they kind of ran all over me. I had no clue what I was doing. They were stealing stuff from one another. It was just crazy. Ended up evicting everybody.
You were learning as you went, and now
yep. So that was about a year of just it was just crazy. So ended up evicting everybody. Everyone moved out.
Can you talk about that process? How was it? Because I know when I did evictions, it was horrible. How was it not knowing anything at 18 and you got to go figure out, all right, I have to start this eviction process. What do I do?
Had a few busted windows. I had a few busted windows. I can tell you that. It wasn't, well, since things weren't done properly, they weren't done correctly. The process was a little bit easier than it traditionally would be if things were done properly. Like a lot of stuff, I mean, there were no contracts in place. It was all verbal agreement. So once it got to its wit's end, I just pretty much said, "Hey, everyone, you got to go." Kicked everybody out.
You just said you have to leave. I don't know where you're gonna go, but you can't.
You gotta get out. You gotta get out of here. So I gave everyone, to be fair, I gave everyone like at least a 60-day notice though.
Okay.
So it was
you were a slumlord. You was like you didn't have the right processes in place.
Correct.
So you had to get people out.
Correct. Once again, I was only 18 years old. Most of these people, they were 35 or into their 40s.
Whew.
Yeah.
So, did they look at you differently when you're asking them for rent money? Like, how was that as doing it at such a young age? Did you feel
they did pay? They did pay. I may possibly had about 2 tenants that were a little tough to receive payment from. But my brother, he was there. He did help me out a lot as well during the process. So, we ended up being able to collect for the most part.
And so this is how you got started. This makes you open your eyes to real estate. How did you start knowing that, okay, if I can do this with my mom's house, let me see how I can live rent free and go into more of the house hacking method? So
I started listening to Bigger Pockets. Bigger Pockets was huge for me. Started reading a lot of books and started really getting into like a business mindset because it ultimately it's a business, not a hobby.
Wait, go back to that before we go over. It's like a lot of entrepreneurs I'm doing these interviews with and stuff like that. They always touch on that aspect before they even get started, before they actually make the money, before they buy the houses or whatever. They always say they change their mindset. What made you know that, okay, you know what? I need to change up here before I can make everything else of my fruition?
Because I had to make sure that it was ran properly, because it's a business that you can thrive in. It's a business that you can be very successful in, but it's a business that can cost you a hell of a lot of money if you fail. Mm-hmm. But there's no failure. It's just learning, honestly. So let me not say fail, but it's a very costly business that if you don't do it right, it will cost you a lot of money. Last thing you want to be is underwater on something that goes for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, because with real estate, it definitely piles up. Like on my flip now, I thought I accounted for everything, and I'm like, oh wait, we have to clean after the contract finishes. Someone has to clean it, right?
Don't even get me started on that.
That's another budget. That's the money's in the budget, but it's like once you start giving out cash, you're like, dang. You know what? I think I might just better clean this place myself. I just got to mop it, right?
You start doing a lot more stuff yourself. You get real hands-on. I mean, like in my current house right now, this house is a foreclosed property. I ended up buying it. It was 11 years vacant.
11 years.
11 years vacant. Yeah.
Well, I actually want to talk more about that vacancy and stuff like that.
Okay.
Because this was a HUD home, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
We were actually speaking because we were going to buy a property in Connecticut together, and you actually told me something new about HUD. You said that the person who gets the first right away to purchase it and stuff like that. You want to touch on that?
Yeah. So for HUD, you don't have to be, but HUD because HUD is a government, is a branch off of the government, and they traditionally give government loans on HUD properties. They prefer owner occupied first before they go to investors. So they leave owner occupied typically for 5 to 10 days first. And if an owner occupied meets their offer or, their minimal offer that they want, that owner occupied will get it. You don't know what everyone else is offering. It's a blind offer.
To simplify that, what Xavier is saying is, hey, if there's a HUD home, that was FHA owned, and the bank sold it back, and whatever, it's now in possession of HUD. What they will do is, instead of an investor like me or Xavier come in and say, hey, we want this house, this is how much we'll pay for it, they'll be like, no. For the first 5 to 10 days, we're looking for owner occupied. That means someone who's going to live in the house and wants to do what is called an FHA loan, whether it's a 203K loan or
Yep.
regular FHA. They're fine with that, but they get the first right at bidding. Now, I can see what the bid is, or Xavier can see. No one can see. It's between you and the HUD consultant, the bank, or whatever, but no one else knows. Now,
Correct.
after that time period, if no one gets the number that they were looking for, then they open up to investors. So what Xavier is saying is this house that he's currently living for 11 years, no one was living there. It was foreclosed. Now, that could be because HUD took longer, because HUD doesn't move slow. It's a branch of the government. We know how they move. They move at their own time.
Yep.
And it also could be no one was giving them the number that they wanted. So an investor could have swooped in, but since Xavier was planning to do a house hacking method, he knew he wanted to live in the house.
Correct.
So when they saw his offer that he's going to be owner occupied, I'm keep repeating that word because I want you guys to start understanding the lingo of mortgages and real estate. Because once you go and talk to a lender or a realtor and you start using these words, I'm like, wait, this guy knows a little something. He's been studying. So once they found out his offer was an owner occupied offer, he won the bid.
Correct. So with because you can't see the other bids, what HUD typically does is when you place an offer, they'll come back and say highest and best. That means you're either in competition with someone else or they really want to know what your offer is going to be. So when they came back and said highest and best, I was freaking out. I'm like, well, how much the other guy offer? I don't know. So I'm like, all right, let's just add 5,000 more onto it. I don't know, because I wasn't sure. I didn't know. So I just threw out a random offer, probably I think just $5,000 over, and they accepted the offer. But once again, it was owner occupied, because I knew the biggest thing on this house for me. I knew what the area CMAs were, so that was really big for me. To find out the CMA.
What's the CMAs?
The don't get me the Lions. It's abbreviation for shoot. It's comparative market analysis. That's what it stands for.
AKA comps.
Correct. That's the comps in the area. So that was one of the biggest things I did. I ran a comparative market analysis to find out, and you can ask a realtor or you can check Zillow. You can kind of run comps on your own, but I typically ask my realtor to run comps for me. So the biggest thing for me in this house was to renovate it, so I'm able to pull the equity out of the property. Because it was a HUD-owned home, I was able to get it at such a low price to where I'm able to fix it up, pull the equity out, and use the equity to purchase another property.
Woo! You dropping gems. I don't feel like they quite caught everything. I know what you said, but I need you to repeat that very slowly, because a lot of people watching this right now, this is their first time really diving deep into real estate like that. So can you start that from the beginning and take your time with it? I want them to really understand it.
Okay, so I purchased this property as a owner-occupied property. It was a HUD-owned property. So because I was owner-occupied, I get first dibs on the property. The biggest problem was I wasn't able to use FHA on this property. Why? Because my FHA was already tied up on another property at the time, which was my 203K. So I had to go conventional. Even if your FHA is tied up, you can still use an owner-occupied conventional. It'll be anywhere from 3.5 to 5%. So even so, the only difference would be your debt to income ratio. Which Malcolm can touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, they're a lot more stricter when it comes to conventional loans. So your DTI has to be a lot tighter and your credit score has to be higher. That's why a lot of times we say, hey, start with FHA, use that for 3.5 because they have a higher DTI, which means you can have more debt and the bank will allow you to still get the loan. Versus conventional, they expect you to have a lot less debt and have a higher credit rate. So the higher your credit score is, the lower the interest rate the bank is going to give you, because it shows that, hey, I take care of my credit. So that bank is rewarding you for having better credit.
Correct. So I had a fairly high credit score to begin with. So it worked in my favor to go conventional, especially since I purchased multifamily properties first. That added on to my income. So my debt to income ratio was just that much better. So that's why I was able to go conventional owner occupied. So I went conventional owner occupied. I knew what the comps were going to be in the area by running comparative market analysis. I had my realtor ask me for it. and then I renovated the property, knowing what I was going to be able to pull out for equity. Then I was going to be able to use that equity to purchase more properties.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So not only did you figure out house hacking, you also did what a lot of people fail to do. They leave equity in a house, but equity in a house doesn't give you anything. You can't do anything with equity. It looks good on paper, but it's not buying you more real estate.
Correct.
So before we go off, I just want to go a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back to that point. So, guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, listen to the podcast. If you listen to the podcast, first of all, you're not getting to see Xavier's face. You're missing out on asking live questions because it's only for YouTube. So, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you put some questions in the comment section because we're answering all questions and we're taking more, more house hacking tips.
Yeah. Any questions, let me know.
And we'll be right back. Welcome back to the More Money Friday. This episode is probably one of the most requested episodes. It's funny, like I kid you not, a week before we actually even decided to do this, someone messaged me and was like, "Hey, Malcolm," I was like, "Hey, what do you guys want?" Because I don't want to just make videos. I want videos that are going to help people. So I said, "Hey, what do you want?" So I was like, "Oh, I want to know more about buying a house 3.5% down, house hacking. Like, tell me about it." I was like, "Cool." And then we were talking. I was like, "Oh, why don't I just ask Xavier if he wants to be on a podcast?" Because he's done it, and it like things just align up when you put that energy that, hey, I want to do this. Things just align up, and it fell right into place.
Yeah, no, it worked out perfect. When you asked me, I was surprised. I'm telling you, man, it shocked me because I'm like, what?
This is just the first one. This is gonna be an ongoing thing with you and me because you have so many different things that I want to touch on. So I'm not gonna ask you everything I want to ask you yet. Okay. So I'm just gonna try to stay and stick with this one topic. But we're definitely going to be talking about how to create your own property management company. We're going to be talking about how to do a 203K loan. I want to talk about all the things that you have done because I'm like really proud of you. I remember when we started texting like a year ago and maybe 2 years ago. I can't remember.
It's been a while.
Yeah, when we started talking, going back and forth. And I was like, wow, you're actually doing what I've been trying to tell people to do. And it was just amazing. So it's really good. All right, so going back to it, let's go into it. When people buy houses, it builds equity. Correct. Well, 99.9% of the time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. If you buy multifamily, because it tends to go up. Real estate, on average, for the last 100 years, it appreciates for about 8%, right?
Correct.
So what Xavier is saying he did is once the house started making more equity, first of all, he bought it for a cheaper price. So he bought it for, let's say, $100,000. The house was valued at $200,000. So he has an intrinsic value of $100,000. I say intrinsic because he can't technically take it out yet.
Correct.
But what he did was
I tried to. They didn't let me.
AKA built-in equity. So what he ended up doing was he ended up trying to figure out, okay, I know I have $100,000 here. How can I take it out? And once I take it out, what am I going to do with it? Most people, the reason why this podcast even started was because on Friday we get paid, and the first thing people look to do is say, hey, I'm going to the club. Let me go to a restaurant. Let me see how I can spend this money. But Xavier was in a different mindset because what did he first talk about? Like when he first came on the podcast, what did he say? I worked on my mindset. Yeah. So tell us, how did you figure out how to get the equity out and how to use that money to play around and do other things and look at other real estate?
So this property that I'm in currently right now, the equity is actually still within this property. So I'm going to go through as you know, I spoke with you probably about a month ago about the refinance process going towards this property here. I already refinanced my other properties. So I can take the story back to my very first house.
Let's do it. Rewinding time. That's my.
All right. So some people know the story. Some people don't. So my very, very first property, I decided to buy that property because me and my wife now, my wife now, we were
shout out
living.
to Maisha.
Yep. Thank you. I appreciate it. For those who don't know, I just got married. But okay, I was living in Bridgeport on Connecticut Ave area, and so my car kept getting vandalized, and at one point they took the tires, everything from under my car, all gone, left my car, not even on center blocks, just right on the asphalt. So at that point, I was like, "Yo, I'm out of here. I'm not renting here no more. I'm gone." We were paying $800. We were paying $800 a month in rent. We were living on a third floor. We were living on a third floor apartment, and it was a friend of mine, so he gave us like a really really good deal
Okay.
at $800 for a 2 bedroom, which typically in the area probably went for around $1,100 or $1,200. So he gave us a really good deal. But with everything going on, I was like, you know what? I'm gone. Can't do that anymore. Ended up moving back into my mom's house for 6 months.
Okay. Short period.
Short period of time. Well, the plan was 6 months. Better yet, the plan was for 6 months while I stacked some money aside to purchase my first property.
You're still working at Target right now, right?
No, at this point, I started working actually at my career in communications.
Okay.
So I was working. It was currently now Frontier, but it was AT&T back at the time.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm currently working there. I'm at my mom's house. I'm putting money aside, saving up some money. I'm still looking for properties. And what really got my head spinning was I went through a lot of towns offer some free. A lot of towns, a lot of cities. I'm not sure where everyone is, but a lot of cities offer free programs. So I went to a program called Bridgeport Neighborhood Trust. And it's a free program for people who want to buy properties pretty much anywhere. It's free FHA courses. It's free property managing or landlord courses. It's all free. And they just give you advice. They run your credit score. And it's kind of like the SBA, to be honest.
So they help you get ready for a mortgage.
They help you get ready for a mortgage by lining you up with lenders, realtors. They take you through the 8-hour class. They figure out where you are and what you got to save, the things you got to cut out before you can save up for a mortgage.
I need to create my own course because that's exactly what I take my clients on.
No, it's awesome.
Exactly.
It's awesome. Yeah, so they were going through all my stuff, and they're like, "Hey, you got to cut out the food. You're spending around $450 a month in just like food going out." So I'm like, "All right, let me stop that." And then just stopping the rent just made things that much better. Mm-hmm. So that's $450. I stopped that, and then adding another $800 onto it made it easier to save. So I was in my mom's house in one room. Maisha was in a room with me, eating ramen noodles. That's all I ate. All I ate, ramen noodles.
You know, Gary V had a similar thing. He said, I think for 8-10 years, he said all he did was keep his head down and eat. He said dog, but that's what it is. He was grinding. When you have a vision and when you're on a mission, a lot of times all that fanciness, it doesn't do anything to you because you know, like, I have a bigger picture. I have a purpose now. And your purpose was to get out and get a house. So whatever you had to do every day, it just reminded you, hey, I'm working on a purpose and I'm walking in faith.
Yep, that was the plan. So I kept looking for a property on MLS and everything. As you know, I expected to find something right away. It took a long time. I did not think the process took that long. It took a long time just to even find something that I liked. House after house after house. Put an offer. Sometimes I lost the property because I wouldn't go up high enough. Because I kind of had an idea of a budget. I think my budget at the time was 170 or 180 or something like that. So it's not that high, but I had to. So I ended up going up into the area of Connecticut called the Valley.
Okay.
Which is for those of you that aren't in Connecticut, Shelton, Derby, Ansonia, Oxford, like all that area, where the property values are cheaper, the taxes are cheaper. Some people don't like the Valley, some people do. So I actually so happen to like the Valley a lot.
Of course, you will end up buying a house there.
Yeah. So I ended up finding a house in the valley. I saw the property. I was super excited about it. But what ended up happening was a couple days after I saw the property, I ended up getting into a motorcycle accident.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was in the hospital for quite a few days. And then I couldn't really walk for a good period of time. So obviously I couldn't work. But luckily enough, I was still able to get disability from my job. So I got disability through Prudential. I put an offer on the house, made the offer. Going through the underwriting process, what I didn't know during that time was that you cannot not be working.
I was just about to ask you. I was like, yo, how did he get around that? Because that's usually I have to explain it to underwriting. Like, hey, he was just out. How long were you out? Months or weeks?
I was out for months.
Yeah, a major red flag. And
I was out for months.
Was it from your job or was it through like your own personal life insurance or
It was actually from my job. So that
helps because they could see that. And then when you're in underwriting now at this time period, I'm guessing you're back to getting your normal pay stub. So it was just a short gap.
Correct. So I'm still in underwriting at the time. So I actually didn't go back to work for probably like another 2 or 3 months after that point in time.
Oh, wow. So did underwriting ask for some kind of proof that you're guaranteed to still be working?
Yeah.
And how much?
So I was in the union and everything. I had to go. Mind you, I wasn't even supposed to be driving. I was on codeine, Vicodin, all that stuff because I could, like I said, I couldn't walk very well.
You refused to lose this house.
Yeah. So I was running around trying to get signatures from my job, from my union, doing all this stuff to get it over to underwriting because I didn't want.
I feel like I was even a loan officer. And I already know. Like I feel like once you do so many loans, you start wondering, okay, if this is the problem, this is the only solution we could do to make it happen. But the loan officer was pretty good. I have to take my hats off to him and say,
I didn't know any of this stuff, so it's just crazy. But once again, I would have never knew. I would have ended up in a motorcycle accident, not able to walk very well. No one would have known that. So, and mind you, also this was a FHA. This was a multifamily, 2-family house, FHA, 203K, because I knew the house needed renovation. So, So during that underwriting process, we're getting closer and closer to closing on the house. I got all the documents over to them. As we're getting close to closing on the house, 3 days before I close on the house, a car hits the house.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh,
You got hit, now the house got hit.
Now the house got hit. So I was like, this is crazy.
This must be a sign or something. That's what you started thinking, right?
Yeah, I was like, I'm like, there got to be something wrong with this.
Yeah.
So I go over the house. I see a bunch of like the retaining wall completely broken over, everything. It was bad. So what I did was I held off on the closing for 2 additional weeks, and I told I didn't tell the owner, but I told my realtor to tell the owner that if the wall isn't fixed, I'm not buying the property. I'll walk away from it. So, needless to say, they fixed it.
Yeah, pretty quickly too.
First, they claimed they fixed it until I went back over there to check to make sure they actually fixed it. And I noticed they didn't, and then they got on it.
That's another thing I liked about it. I'm going to talk about your background a little bit, how you know construction. You actually do a little construction. Well, a lot of construction, I should say.
Yeah.
But when people are looking at a house, especially for the first time, they don't know what they're looking at. A lot of times you don't know what you're looking at, what you're doing. So it helps having some kind of construction background.
Yes.
Having a contractor who can view the property with you. Now, not all contractors, because I was working with one client, and every house she went to, the contractor said, "Oh, it's going to cost $100,000 to fix, $20,000, $20,000." He's looking for money. There's a difference between someone saying, "Okay, you might want to worry about this later, or this is going on." Like, you don't. I don't call it an inspection because it's not a full inspector, but just someone to say, "Okay, look at that. This is something."
Yeah, I mean, not everything you need to fix immediately. Some things you can hold off. Some things it's cosmetic. You want it fixed, but does it need to be fixed? Does it really change your life?
Exactly. You actually got someone just Frenchie, who was on episode, I believe it was episode 8. She actually put something here for you. I really like this comment, so I'm going to put it on the screen if you can see it. It says, is showing us what preservation really is and how being sincere and staying focused to their goals are. I applaud his mindset.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that comment. Like, this is what it's all about. It's about building different entrepreneurs together. Frenchie actually does credit repair. She does.
That's awesome.
Episode 8, we talked about the rising women in business. So check that episode out.
Oh, I seen her.
Yes, that's Frenchie. That's her.
Yeah, gotcha. That's awesome.
New Instagram friend coming soon. Look at that. But I'm sorry. Get back to what you were saying. I just really wanted to shout that out.
So, I saw the place, and I knew the place needed some work. I knew it needed some work. It needed some updating, a nice little facelift, but it wasn't terrible. I knew it was something that I can move into one unit. The other unit was already rented with a long-time tenant that's been there. Now she's been there for 14 years.
Oh, wow.
But when I bought it, if she was there for 10 years.
How was that buying with the tenant? Because I tell most of my clients, be careful with that. I'm not really a fan of buying a property and having a tenant.
I'm not either. She was a Section 8 tenant. So that's how I got started with Section 8, because for the longest time, I did not want to rent to Section 8.
What is Section 8? Can you describe what Section 8 is?
It's like government housing. So there's apparently two forms of Section 8. There's state Section 8, then there's government Section 8, where that you can move state to state and it carries with you.
Oh, wow.
Versus state to state, where you have to apply within that state and they see if you qualify for it.
Section 8 has like a bad rep. Like, one of the things are like, hey, they don't pay much. They're horrible tenants.
No, actually, Section 8, they pay really, really well. Listen. Now, mind you, like I said, this tenant, she's a government Section 8. So government Section 8, they do not pay to your account like state Section 8 does. They pay strictly check form no matter what. Mm-hmm. So you do have to wait for the check. Typically comes like, a few days after the first of the month, but it comes every single month. But they pay very well. And you can look online and look at your Section 8 pay scale in your state.
Where do you go? What's the website? Let's drop some bombs.
Shoot. Honestly, I'd usually just Google Section 8 in Connecticut. How much do they pay?
Frenchie is loving this episode today.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, like it's on there. And I look it up, and it literally goes by town, and then it goes by number of bedroom, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom, and it'll go to their pay cap of how much they'll pay.
We're gonna go on a quick commercial. Sorry, I keep saying guys. Hustle Tribe. If you're watching this, thank you. I appreciate you. Do not forget, I still have a couple free shirts. The repeat, watch, workout, YouTube shirts that we will give away. All you have to do is follow Knight's Management. Follow Frenchie because she's on this showing love. And I'll give out 2 shirts. So Xavier, you're gonna have to pick out the 2 winners. Follow Frenchie. Just make sure you follow Frenchie on Knight's Management. Shoot Xavier some proof, and I'll send out the shirts 100% free. Just give me your mail address. You don't have to pay for postage. I'm not doing one of those scams like, hey, it's free, but postage is $200. I'm not doing one of those. It's 100% free. Just follow good people, and once you follow them, you're not only going to be following people who are doing things. They show you what they do and how to do it. That's what I love about real entrepreneurs. Real entrepreneurs are not afraid to show you what they do, show you how they make money, and still help you. You can't go wrong with that. So
right about that.
Great. We'll be right back. Xavier Knight, More Money Fridays. Let's do it. We're back. More Money Fridays with Xavier Knight, who's killing it. Not only has he done 1 house hack, but he's done 2, and he's currently living in his 3rd house. So he has 2 multifamilies, and he's living in his first single family house. I did so many videos explaining it's easier to do multifamilies first and work your way down
Yep.
versus starting with a single family, then trying to convince the bank that you're going to a multifamily. The way the banks look at things is they look at it as it's a riskier investment if you do it after. So,
yep. I went to buy another single family and this another HUD home single family, and that ended up being a problem.
Exactly. I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about. That's why I'm doing these videos to try to give people advice and help them. But it's easier when you have living legends, living proof of people who've done it to talk about their experience and just tell people like what you went through, your emotions, how it was. Like you would explain, you went through a lot of ups and downs, and it's normal when you're buying homes. Maybe because I've been doing so many loans and stuff like that. Like I see it all the time, but hearing it from someone else, it's easier for the clients to understand. Like, no, trust me, you're not the only one who went through this pain. Thought maybe the house shouldn't be for them. Like, thought God was giving them signs, but you went through two major ones. I would have probably started questioning things too. Like, I'm gonna act. Underwriter's mad at me, and now the house gets hit. Oh hell no! Like, what's up with this? Like, God, you trying to tell me something? Like,
no, it was crazy. It was crazy. You can ask my wife. I was like, I'm like, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Like, maybe this is a bad idea. Like, I was all over the place because I didn't know what to think. Honestly, I did not know what to think.
So Xavier, let's touch on. Okay, I'm not sure. Did you do a 203K loan yet?
Yes, I did.
Okay, perfect. So we did have one question for that. I usually save questions for the end, but this person asked, and it's an algebra tutor, and I have a soft spot for teachers because, as you know, they'll help both of us. So I want to answer her question or his question. I don't know. Here it is.
Yes. Okay. So I purchased a property. I purchased my first property actually was a 203K loan. So I purchased a property for 168, if I'm not mistaken, 168 or 170. But my loan amount was for 195. So I pulled out $25,000. So I did a 203K streamline.
Yes, it's the A version. It's under 35,000.
Correct. But going past that 35,000, it would have had to be a full 203K loan, where now you have to involve other parties that make the decision for you versus you making the decision.
Yes, it's anything over 35,000 becomes a B, and then you need to have two additional. Well, you need to have your contractor more involved, and he has to understand what drawers are. And then two, you have to get it's a consultant that's a third party.
HUD consultant.
It's a third party that deals with just the contractor, and then the bank has someone else. So it's three parties now that have to communicate, and then you would make the fourth. So when you do a payment, it's like three people have to check off on the work, seeing that it was done, it was good, blah blah blah, before the contract gets paid, and it's so much more paperwork. When I mean so much more, like.
There were a lot of steps to that one, and I was like, you know what? I'll stay under. No, because you had to answer to so. If I said, "Hey, I want to get this kitchen renovated," it goes from me saying I want the kitchen renovated, the contractor saying the kitchen needs to be renovated, the HUD consultant saying, okay, he can do it or not, and then the bank allowing me to do it. You got four chefs in the kitchen. It's almost impossible to get something done.
Yes. I've done one of those, and it could be done. Any loan could be done. It just depends on how willing are you to wait for it to get done. Now, the seller doesn't have to worry about it. The loan's going to take longer, so you have to tell the seller, hey, I'm doing it to a 3K loan, but they won't experience the full. You'll experience the full version because they can close when the house is still unbearable or still needs work. But guys, Hustle Tribe, I just did a video on this. It's perfect timing, Xavier. I dropped a video on 2 or 3K loans today. So make sure you check out the YouTube channel where you can find out more about it. And I actually have another part of it, which will be dropping on Monday or Wednesday, one of those.
Nice.
But give us more. All right, talk more about those numbers.
So, so I did 25,000 on the 2 or 3K loan. And obviously, as you know, I do some work myself. So at the time, we had the contractor come in. I did some work, so I was able to bring my numbers down on the 203K loan, and the contractor walked through all of my work to make sure that the work was done properly. So I ran the electrical.
I do not recommend this for anyone watching. No. Xavier has more of a construction background. So if you're thinking about doing this, I actually touched base on in the other video. This is usually not allowed, so be very careful. I have to give out some guidelines. Do not sue me. Do not sue Xavier. He's just talking about his own personal story. The loan is already done. The bank won't be coming for him.
Yeah, okay. Definitely a disclosure. I do not recommend doing this. Most of the time, the contractor will not ever allow you to do this. Ever.
Or the bank.
Yeah, because their name is on the line at the end of the day. So I will not, that is a full disclosure. Don't do it. But I did it. I can tell you my own story. It's my own story. I can tell you my story.
Exactly.
So I did it. I did the work. Made sure permits were pulled. Did my own electrical. Did the sheetrock. Did things of that nature to get the place updated as much as possible. Redid the flooring. Contractor came in, looked over everything because everything is under their name. They will not give you a 203K loan unless it's under a contractor. And even if you are a contractor, they won't let you do it.
Yes, it has to be a licensed contractor. It can't be a part-time contractor. It can't be Bob. I'll talk more about this in the video that I just explained. And also, there is one exception. If you've been doing it for a long enough time, you have a big name and stuff like that, there's a slim chance, like certain banks will give you the opportunity to do it yourself.
My bank did not give me the opportunity to do it.
No,
did not
very hard. To do it. It's a lot because they want to make sure you're licensed because the bank wants to know they can sue somebody. That's the biggest thing. If something goes wrong, who are we suing?
Yeah. And I have guys, we have insurance, we have everything, but they would not allow me to do it. So I had to outsource and hire somebody else to do it. Cut a deal with that person. And like I said, disclosure, this is my story. So I don't recommend doing this, but I cut a deal with that person, did a lot of the work, was able to save a lot of money on labor. And while they ended up purchasing the material, and we ended up getting the place fully renovated. Mind you, I still have the tenant downstairs making the payment. At the time,
while the work is getting done.
So
still making money. And you're not making mortgage payments, right?
Yeah. So I still have to make the mortgage payment over the period of time. So the mortgage payment at the time was $1,533. As you guys remember what I said, our first apartment was $800 a month. And including what we had to pay our part of the mortgage with what the tenant was paying, I mean, we cut our mortgage in half. So it was only $400 to pay.
And you got the first month or month and a half of your mortgage was free.
Free, correct.
So you actually banked at least a month or two, plus you only paid $400.
Correct. So one thing that happened too during the process, during the walkthrough, when I went to turn on the utilities, smelled gas all throughout the house. There was a really bad gas leak in the house. Had no idea, but I had to dig up the floors.
Oh wow!
The utilities weren't on when I went through the first time. So that was something that needed to be fixed. That was not in the budget, but it's something that needed to be fixed along with the money that I saved.
I'm surprised because usually the bank appraiser actually makes sure that all the utilities are turned on, electricity, water, gas, before the house. Even
because it's a multifamily, the tenant that was in the unit that I was going to move into, they were no longer there. So the utilities weren't on in that unit.
Yeah, usually the bank deems that they have to put them on. They even if the appliances or stuff is like not fully working, they just want to make sure that it can come on something. Just to avoid that fact, because then you could add it into your budget one time.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised the bank actually let you close like that.
Yeah, well, it happened. So, the money that I was able to save on the 203K loan, I ended up, unconventional. Obviously, I'm on with a loan officer right now, so he might not like this idea. But so the money that I saved on a 203K loan, I took that money and I put it aside.
Okay.
Added some more money onto it, and then I used that 203K money and bought another house.
Dang, you got away with murder.
Pretty much.
It worked out in your benefit because you had a previous relationship with a licensed contractor who was also insured, guys. So
Correct.
it wasn't like he just found any contractor and was like, hey, you know what? You do this work, I'll do it, and he didn't do that. So the bank will, at the end of a 203K loan, right? The bank will, depending on what the contractor deems the work of scope is, the scope of the work.
Yep.
Right? Based off that estimate, he'll say, hey, this is worth $25,000. The bank will look at it over and say, okay, this is a scope of work. At the end of closing, they write a check to the contractor for that amount.
Yes.
What Xavier is saying is he worked out a separate deal. So
with
the bank is out of it. We closed. You got the money. The bank is out of it now. So what he did is he worked out something behind the scenes. So the bank had no knowledge of it because the bank would not allow that. So what he did is he worked out his own magic, worked out his deal, and ended up making money off the back end for doing the work. So pretty much you got paid by the contractor to do the work.
Correct. I got paid. So I closed on the property, which is funny. So I gave them a check for $9,000 when I closed on the property. Right at closing, they cut me a check for $11,000 to pay the contractor. I did that, paid the contractor, got started on the work. Then they cut me another check, but it is written out to the contractor. At the end of it all, once the construction is finished, it's written out to the contractor. I gave that check to the contractor. Then the contractor in turn wrote me a check back. So that's how I got my money back out of it. And then I used that money to buy another one.
Everything is written in the contractor's name. I don't want you to think the bank is giving Xavier money.
Correct.
It's not how it happens. And I don't want you to be misleading and tell your lawyer, so, well, on the More Money Friday podcast, episode 11, Xavier Knight told us, you going to give me a check.
No, that was my way of getting by some things. I didn't have a lot of money, but, kind of figured things out.
Yep. The contractor hired Xavier to do his own house. That's
correct.
That's what we're taking away. That's the end result that you guys need to understand, all right? But
that would be the way to look at it. He subcontracted me knowing I knew how to do the work.
And he still overlooked his work because at the end of the day, his name is on the paper. So even if Xavier did something and it messed up, the bank, Xavier could have sued the contractor, not him.
Correct. So it's risky.
Very.
It's very, very risky, and I don't recommend it for the average homeowner. I do not recommend it for the average homeowner, but that was my way of getting by.
Now, if you're watching on YouTube, please, Xavier is willing to answer all questions about this topic. We are going to do more videos, so do not worry, do not fret. Just let us know what you want him to, if you have any questions, and we'll touch on some of them. Not all of them, because I don't want it to lead into the next episode or the next section that we're going to shoot together. But if you listen to the podcast, make sure you follow Xavier Knight's management. And if you're listening, I appreciate the support, but you got to come on Friday to watch it live so you can have your questions answered. And if you're watching it live, the podcast is available so you can re-listen to it again. You see how it works? Either way, you got to listen to this information more than once.
Yeah, it sounds good to me. Like I said, I don't mind speaking with people through the process or talking with people. I spoke with someone, a friend out of high school, out in Philly, and he ended up purchasing his first property after me. I've talking to him for over a year, but he ended up buying his first multifamily, and I was happy for him.
Exactly. I feel like when you actually genuinely want to help people, you want to see them succeed. Like I don't know if we're talking about the same person, but I spoke to someone in Philly too. I think you referred me to him. And
Sean.
Even though he couldn't use me, I said, hey, this is what you could do, because not all banks accept all grants.
Yeah.
So he wanted a grant program that the banks that I work with just didn't have access to. They like, no, we want a grant.
Every state has something different. Like here in Connecticut, they have a CHAFA program.
Okay.
I don't know if that's everywhere, but I know it's here in Connecticut.
Yeah. So like I said, like we even though you can't do I can't accept all grants because the banks don't want it. But if we can help you, I genuinely want to see you win. So even if I can't do it, I will still guide you through and tell you, at least give you advice so you could be in a better situation versus just saying, I can't help you. Goodbye, good luck.
Yeah.
That's what Xavier's saying. Even if he can't help you with something and he's not profiting from it, he's still willing to give you some kind of advice and lead you. I'm not going to hold your hand the whole way.
No, I'll push you in the right direction.
But I will lead you on the right path.
Yeah.
So that's
I will push you in the right direction. And I always try to, Malcolm, I always try to network as much as possible. It's a guy on Instagram who I've been talking to. His name is if you're on Ryan Lovey. He flips properties in Seymour, which is not far from me, which is crazy. So I reached out to him just to have some coffee. Maybe we could talk about something and possibly work on a deal together.
That's it. It all starts with networking. You never know who you're going to meet or what's going to happen. We have a quick commercial break. Make sure you guys have your questions. We have Xavier for 10 more minutes, and then he's going to go and take care of his family. He has a newborn, which I'm very happy for, and he just got married. So Xavier's dealing with a lot, so we're not going to hold him too long. 10 more minutes, that's all I need for you, Xavier.
Sounds good.
More Money Fridays.
Whether you're going to purchase a house, refi, reverse mortgage, or need an investment property, the real Mr. Marcel can do it all. We help you succeed. We help you break generational curse. Come to someone who cares. Come to the real Mr. Marcel, aka your favorite loan officer.
Welcome back to More Money Friday. If you didn't watch the video, you need to watch it. It says subscribe, follow me on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast. We're dropping new episodes every Friday. I do about 3 YouTube videos a week, all giving out helpful information, just trying to make you guys better, trying to create more hustlers and help the hustle tribe become successful. That's why I brought on this guest, Xavier Knight from Knight's Management. And literally, we're just doing this. This is not paid. I did not pay Xavier. I just asked him, hey, Xavier, would you like to help people? Would you want to tell your story to hopefully, which soon to be millions? Right now, we're not there yet, but millions. And he was like, sure, why not? And he just wanted to give, and that's his nature. And that's a lot of entrepreneurs that do this. They do it for free. They do it to give out information and help the future generation to be in a better situation.
Yeah, honestly, I like to see more and more people purchase their first property or even a multifamily or just get started. Like it's one of the toughest and most nerve-wracking things ever, just getting started. Like I said, I was listening to Bigger Pockets podcast and reading books for like 2 years before I even said, you know what, I'm gonna do it, because I didn't feel like I was ready.
And now that you've done it, how does it feel?
It's
you've done it 3 times, like.
It's the best decision I've ever made.
Repeat that one more time for the people in the back.
It is the best decision I've ever made. Purchasing the first one was the best decision I've ever made because it opened doors to continue the process. Because once you do it once, you can continue to duplicate at that point.
Everyone, I hope you're listening. Once you do it once, you can duplicate the process.
Yes.
Xavier, you dropping some bombs today. I need to start getting like a bomb button that just goes boom or something like that. You're killing it today.
Hey, one of Queen's bombs, huh?
Yeah, Queens get money, dropping bombs. We're doing it all right now. Xavier,
yeah.
I'm going to share a little bit of our personal life and our personal business life, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So Xavier and I were actually looking to buy a multifamily in Connecticut. It was a 2-family. Unfortunately, HUD, owner occupied, beat us to it. But Xavier, let's talk about that process. How did you feel? Finally partner up. We've been talking about partnering up for like 2 years now.
Yeah.
We finally found something. We're like, all right, I got a lot of money tied up in my flip, but you know what, Xavier, we said we're gonna do it. Let's make it happen. And we got. I kid you not, Xavier called me and said, hey, Malcolm, I found a house. I said, okay, cool. Like, so what are we going to do? When we going to see it? He's like, oh, we only got 2 days. I was like, what do you mean 2 days? He's like, it's the HUD home. We only got 2 days to make this happen. I was like, okay. Like, so, like, did you see the house now? No, I didn't even see it yet, but I'm going to go see it tomorrow. So we only have a day and a half to make this happen. Yeah. So I need a pre-approval. I'm like,
so that was crazy because I'm always checking the MLS for no reason. Sometimes I don't even have no money, but I'm checking the MLS anyway. So I see a property come up and I'm like, this is a really nice house. But with the way the market's going right now, places are going like that. So with HUD-owned properties, you have to have an offer in by a deadline. So the deadline was only 2 days away. I saw the house on Thursday. Offer had to be in by Saturday. I'm like, Saturday by midnight. I'm like, this is crazy. So I called my realtor. My realtor's like, I can't show you, but you know what? Let me call somebody. They were playing like telephone. He called 3 different people. And it was like, I got someone that can show you today. You got to give them a call. They might be able to show you within like the next 3 hours. I said, perfect. I ran to see the house. I took video, sent it to Malcolm. I'm like, what are we going to do? I can only scrape up a couple $1,000s. And then he was like, I could possibly scrape up a couple $1,000s. So now we're trying to do a syndication, get involved more people, try to make it happen. We were scrambling. Well, unfortunately it did fall through, but that's just the way it happens sometimes. But the thought is, imagine what we can do with more time.
Exactly. And it worked out perfectly because during that scrambling, right? During us trying to scramble, trying to figure it out, we did connect. I actually do hard money loans, and I connected with one of my people who actually started their own direct lending called Brooklyn Funding. And they were like, hey, Malcolm, don't worry, I'll take care of you. And we got a really good deal. So we're still looking out in Connecticut. If you or anyone knows of a multifamily that needs a little bit of work, because we're not paying top dollar. We're doing it at 65, 50%. That's what we like. But Funding did actually give us a backing. So we're good. We got our money now, and we're a little more organized because now we know Xavier's hungry and he's looking.
Yeah, it ain't a 2-day look this time. So that works. That works for us. But it was definitely a scramble. I don't know how we would have made it work, but we was like,
oh,
of course.
I had some, you had some. We got one of your other partners. Like you said, we was going to do a syndication. Yeah. The funding people said they would cover us. They liked it.
For those of you that don't know what a syndication is, it's just a fancy word for partnership. Just getting other people into it. It's a fancy word for partnership so that, hey, if you can't come up with the full, $20,000, well, how about you and 4 other people? Each one of you guys come up with 5. It's a lot easier.
And what I also liked about that, it shows that once you have a will to do something, you'll find a way. We only had about 2 days to come up with this, but we knew we wanted this property. We knew what we wanted. We wanted to create generational wealth, and we wasn't going to let money stop us.
No.
If you have a good deal, the least of your concerns is money.
Yeah. If it takes wealth to create generational wealth, you better get a bunch of people together. Guarantee you can scrape up $1.
Exactly. And I actually touched this. The video didn't come out yet, but I talked about this in one of my videos that will come out hopefully next week or the week after. Everyone wants to control 100% of the pie. And that's the worst thing you can do because, one, you're taking all the risk by yourself, especially if you're new to the game. You never want to do that. And 2, you don't have all the money. Your money is not infinite unless you're like a super millionaire, billionaire. Even they partner with people on deals.
Yep.
It's easier to have everyone put in money and then together you make a lot of money. I'd rather be a part of $100 million deal and have that 1% than being 100% of $1,000 deal.
Yeah. I mean, if you look into a lot of these companies own these buildings or own certain businesses. It's typically not just one person. It's a group. It's an incorporation. It's this or that. So they have a syndication. It's just on a larger scale. And who's to say it can't be done on a smaller scale?
Yes.
Hey, so, either way, if it's 4 people that's in a syndication deal, but you have 100 properties, what's the problem?
Exactly. We're all making money, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about. I feel like once we find another property, and after it's under contract, because I can't give you guys the information before it's under contract, because I'm not trying to lose a deal. But we'll have to go through the numbers and explain how we did our syndication. We'll give you more of the behind the scenes, and we'll do it either on a More Money Friday or we'll just do an episode and put it on the YouTube because I really want the Hustle Tribe to understand how to do it and to make it happen because we're not just capping. We're not. I don't have a hat. I'll put a hat on. We're not capping.
I got one on. That works.
We're talking about things that we're actively doing. I actually do mortgages. I closed just this week. We closed 2 new loans. So 2 new homeowners. I have another one on Monday and hopefully one more before the end of the month. But I say this needless to say that I actually do mortgages. Xavier actually does house hacking. I actually help people. My client next week is going to be closing on a two family, 3-family house.
That's
And
awesome.
he's house hacking. He can live in the basement, rent the first 2 floors, and he's paying up. Actually, he will get paid to live there.
And
How
that's
crazy is that?
that's the way to do it.
About either $1,000 or $2,000 to live there. So
That's the way to do it.
when you listen to these people on YouTube and stuff like that, they charge you courses on things they haven't done because they learn some information and they start talking about it. Versus us, we're giving you information for free, mind you, for free, and we actually do this. This is how we earn our money. So just be careful and fact check the people that you listen to. That's it.
Yeah. Hey, well, Malcolm, I appreciate you guys having me on. I really do appreciate it. It was an honor to be on the More Money Friday podcast. So thank you.
No problem. Xavier, guys, Hustle Tribe, if you want Xavier to come back, make sure you put in the comment section. I already have 2 more videos I already know I'm going to bring you back on. So whether you say it or not, as long as Maisha's fine with it and she can watch the baby hold it down, because I hear her crying in the background. Maisha's holding it down. So thank you. But we definitely going to have you back. We got to talk more about real estate. I really love this. And we broke a record today. We haven't hit this many live viewers at once in a while. So we broke a new record. We had 10 live viewers on
Awesome.
YouTube. That's amazing. So, and we still have 4 now still watching us. So thank you, Hustle Tribe. Thank you, Xavier. Thank you, Knights Management. Thank you, Maisha. This is it. More Money Friday podcast episode 11 is out now. So make sure you like it.